Okay, wait. Did you guys know that in Nova Scotia, there's a lobster that predicts the weather?
Aw, that's so
Wait.
much better.
Welcome to another episode of Midlight Crisis, a real podcast hosted by three grown-up biologists revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool. I am one of your hosts, named Sophie, but I have a randomly generated fantasy name for today's episode. Mine kind of has a theme.
Okay.
You'll see.
Okay.
So my name for today is North John Wormwinters.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
North
just
John
very,
Wormwinter.
cold weather appropriate.
Yeah, before we started recording, we were collectively bitching about the fact that there has been a major storm every single weekend of 2022 so far.
It's been sunny for like the 4 weekdays,
Yeah.
and then it's going to be absolutely awful for the 3 days of the weekend.
Yeah, it's predictable at this point, and I hate it.
It's so awful. Anyway,
Anyway.
the weather, am I right? Okay, what are you? Who are you guys?
Well, my name's Sam, but today you can call me. It's very resemblance of how I feel about all this crappy weather. Tynus Hellshadow.
Oh.
Wow, dang.
I'm a villain.
A villain, yeah. Is it like
I'm the
sorry.
one bringing all the storms.
Oh no,
You jerk.
Sam! You just
I
want more
know.
time to read, don't you?
Maybe.
So rude.
I mean, considering I finished an entire book today,
Oh my god.
I don't
You
need
don't
more
need
time.
more time. Yeah.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow. Yeah, appreciate that, Sam.
Oopsie.
Well, my name is Hannah, but for the purposes of this podcast, you can call me by my randomly generated fantasy name, which is totally unrelated to the other two, and is in fact Garana's ship name.
Oh, ship
Yep.
name.
Ship
Just-
name.
Ship name.
It sounds like that should be in parentheses, and it's just like
Yeah.
insert ship name here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you put the name once you've shipped me with someone.
It's like one of those like who's on first skits where people are like, and what's your last name? And you'll be like ship name, and they'll be like, which ship? And you're like, no,
Ship
my last name is ship name.
hmm
Oh.
And what's your ship called? It's like, oh,
no.
boat. It's like, no, sorry, your ship? Yeah, it's boat. Okay, and your name? Ship name. No, you're...
So boat? No.
Oh
Boat?
my god, if I ever get a
No,
boat,
ship
I'm
name.
now gonna name it parentheses ship name.
That's a great boat name.
That's awesome.
10 out of 10. We've been doing this podcast for so long, and like literally never once do our names come up ever again. But
Nope.
this is fine.
It's fun, though.
It is.
I just remember the one time we like had to quit recording in the middle of a podcast, and then we came back and literally couldn't remember our names from the day
Nope.
before.
That is
Nope.
why I started writing them down.
That's so
Yep.
smart.
The only one I remember is Neil's Butler Better, because we made our friend Kevin say it multiple times.
Oh yeah, that was a good name.
That was a
That
good
was
name.
good.
Yeah.
Neil's Butler Better.
So, how about you guys tell us about what happened in the 2 chapters we read this week from Aragon, the book?
I feel like I could put all of my last summaries into an AI and it could spit out a summary
Oh my
for
god,
me.
can we do that?
of these chapters. Well, we
have to-
probably could. There's definitely coding or Excel magic that could be done.
Similar with math, though, Sam will have to be paid to do it.
Well, the thing is I have it all written out, so I could easily just copy it and then randomize it, and I'm pretty sure that you could just anyways. But to actually talk about what happened, then not a randomly generated AI version of it,
Mm-hmm.
as the chapter is named Daret,
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
our companions have come to Daret for supplies.
Wow.
Where the town first appears to be possibly abandoned, but then turns out the town was hiding to ambush Brahm and Aragon. Brahm does some sweet talking, and the people of Daret seem to think the Empire will give a shit about the Urgle attacks, and Brahm and Aragon head off with their new supplies, just totally leaving the villagers to think, the Empire cares. They don't. Are you kidding me? Anyways, while heading back to Saphira, Brahm explains to Aragon all about mind reading and communicating magic. But once reunited with his dragon, Saphira attacks Aragon, saying he gets himself into too much trouble and she will no longer allow it. Aragon then agrees to ride her for the next day instead of the pitiful deer-like animal he's been riding thus far. And Brahm and Aragon practice some sword fighting. And then I think they go to sleep, maybe, because it's the next morning. So I'm like, I don't know anymore, Hannah.
But yeah, that chapter, well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
In Through a Dragon's Eyes, Aragon wakes up while Brahm is getting Saphira saddled and ready for him to ride. He is apprehensive and does not enjoy the experience until Saphira does a mind meld with him, which allows him to see what she sees and feel what she feels. And guys, it is exactly my shit. Oh my god. Big fan of that. Then Brahm contacts Aragon and tells them to land using the brain magic because he has found the end of the Razak's tracks. They have ridden away on something that leaves tracks like a dragon. The trail has gone cold, but what's this? Aragon finds something that the Razak left behind, which is a very rare and expensive oil that he decides must have been imported into the country legally and therefore listed on a shipping manifesto somewhere. So Aragon and Brahm decide to go to the port city of Tirm to find the Razak's paper trail. Thus, newly beplanned, they spar and go to bed.
Well,
oh my god.
A lot happened in these ones.
Right?
okay, but
this
like
book.
the most important thing is both of the chapters don't end with them going to sleep.
Not
But
explicitly.
then they start the next morning, though, don't they?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the ends of both of these chapters read like there is a missing sentence or two
Yeah.
in which they go to sleep, cut off from the ending, as though perhaps a copy editor was like, please stop putting them to bed at the end of each chapter.
Well, the first chapter, Daret, it ends so abruptly that I literally thought there was an issue in my ebook and messaged Sam and Sophie, being like, "Does your chapter end in the same place?" Because it just stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't even resolve the scene that was happening at the end. It just stopped, and I was like, "Is it over?"
But even the next one feels the same way. So the first chapter ends with them sword fighting, and Aragon's like, they both had large welts when they stopped, Aragon more so than Brahm. He marveled that Zarok had not been scratched or dented by the vigorous pounding it had received. And that's just the end, and we're not going to talk about how sexual that is. But then the other one is Aragon and Brahm had their nightly fight, but it lacked energy as both were preoccupied with the day's events. By the time they finished, Aragon's arms burned from Zarok's unaccustomed weight. That's the middle of a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one felt like a little more final to me, but still.
Yeah.
They're both just like, okay. Alright, I guess we're done.
Let's see if the new thing is that instead of going to bed, they have a sword fight. And then that's the end of the chapter.
And then it
That
just
also,
stops.
yeah. That seems to be the more regular occurrence. Is it's always a sword fight.
Yeah.
I mean, he does say that every night they have a sword fight and then they go to bed in one of the earlier chapters. So now I guess we're just supposed to infer that they go to bed, but we still have to be told that they do the sword fight.
Yeah, we're cutting out the part where they're just gonna end before the sword fight, and we're gonna be like, I guess they had a sword fight and went to bed.
Okay, I mean, no need to get too radical here.
Yeah, you're right. Then it would almost be not morning and night every chapter.
Huh?
Yeah. Anyway, we've once again started by talking about the end.
Yes. I have a very small note to make about the beginning of the Daret chapter.
Sure.
I mean, they show up in this town. It seems abandoned, possibly similar to Yazuak, but it's not. And they get kind of confronted in this ambush by a swarthy man who shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And until I was 25, I thought that swarthy meant tall and muscular, built like a football player.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't. It just means he's black.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, swarthy means
What?
dark-skinned, but I, like, for my entire life, I thought it was just, like, a really strong big dude.
That's also what I thought.
Oh.
But
I'm
what,
assuming
like,
it's just one of those things where you try and make sense from the context.
yeah,
And there's
probably.
they're probably not including helpful context. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of how I thought tall, dark, and handsome meant, like, a tall, dark-skinned person, but it just means a tall white guy with black hair.
Oh. Yeah.
Anyway, vocabulary lesson. Swarthy means
Interesting.
dark-skinned, not strong guy.
Dang.
Yeah. Also, apparently, it's been 2 weeks since they were in Yazuak, which,
Yeah.
like, that surprised me.
I missed that.
Yeah.
It's been a fortnight, and I assume they don't mean the video game because I don't think that was out in 2005.
I also think that's spelled NIT.
Oh, is it? I don't
Yeah.
pay
That's
enough
how you can
attention.
tell the difference in these fantasy novels where they say Fortnite.
Okay.
They actually don't mean the video game if it's
Okay.
NIGHT, yeah.
Okay. I thought, like,
Helpful.
I thought maybe because it wasn't capitalized, but, like,
Yeah.
hard to say.
Yeah, this part for me was like, so they get ambushed, but the way that ambush works is they're like walking through this town, they're like checking the alleys between the houses, they're looking at the houses, they're just like, what's going on? And then suddenly the description is they advanced only a few strides before wagons toppled out from behind the houses and blocked their way.
Yeah.
Like, how big are these wagons? Also, where were
Uh-huh.
they keeping them? And also, what? And toppled? Why
Toppled?
not rolled? They have wheels. How do you topple a wagon from behind a house?
Maybe they were, like, leaning up like wheelbarrows and they knocked them over, which...
Through the house?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean... Especially because, like, Aragon and Brom were looking for signs of an ambush and didn't see it until they were ambushed.
Yeah.
So that's...
The visual, like, I get that you're just supposed to, like, breeze past it being like, oh yeah, and then there are wagons blocking the street. I get it. But, like, when you're doing it the way we're doing it, this
Yes.
doesn't make any sense.
Exhaustively, but only about specific and nitpicky details.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's fine. Also, this town has 60 archers? What?
That's so many, like...
That's so many.
Is it just, like, a matter of course that they learn how to arch? But it's not like they live in a forest.
Arch.
Yeah.
Learn how to arch.
You gotta learn how to arch.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the verb I meant.
That's the
For sure.
verbiage for it.
That's what that means.
To arch.
Yeah, you know, archers arch.
Instead of you like look up and they're all on the walls surrounding you, but instead of holding
Like
like bows and
backbends.
arrows, they're just doing yoga. Wow,
I mean, that's
dangerous.
pretty intimidating.
They'll yoga you right out of the sky.
Just like, oh damn, the flexibility and strength.
Namaste where you are. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. So there's a lot of yogis in this town.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
inexplicably.
it's a town of wellness.
I guess maybe it must be a big town,
I guess
but
so.
also...
It
but
does
also-
say it's small and wild looking right at the
Yeah.
start. I guess wild looking makes sense. Like, oh, it's full of archers. Okay, that tracks.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Probably a military town.
Or like
Mm.
hunting, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, what are they hunting? Because
You
they're on
know.
the plains next to the river.
Gazelles.
But there's been nothing on
Plain
the plains.
monsters.
Saphira's
Right?
been eating something because
That's
it's been
true.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a good point. She has to eat at least once a week.
Yeah, maybe there's like bison or
Mm.
Maybe there's like fantasy giraffes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Lord of the Rings has fantasy elephants, so I think Aragon
True.
can have fantasy giraffes.
Fantasy giraffes. I hope the
Mhm.
fantasy
Yeah.
giraffes come up later.
I hope
Me
so
too.
too.
Also, in this section, when they're talking to this guy, the reason they're ambushed is because they're like, we've had too many encounters with Urgles and bandits. So we're
And-
being careful. But then he says, and worse fiends?
Yes.
And I'm like, pardon?
Yep, that caught my attention as well.
What? Elaborate, please.
Uh-huh.
Shame.
What's worse than an Urgle?
A
Have
shame.
they
Like the Razak?
encountered the Razak?
Did they encounter the Razak?
But also, like, Brahm doesn't react to it. Like, they're
Nope.
hunting the Razak, and this guy's like, we've seen worse than Urgles. And Brahm's like, nah, whatever.
Brahm literally gives no shits about anything. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
Brahm knows what's going on in every instance and just keeping his mouth shut the entire time. Like, Brahm is troublesome.
Yeah.
He's suspicious.
Sus.
He's real
Sus.
sus.
Yeah, he also, at multiple points in these 2 chapters, the first being after this encounter, like, upbraids Aragon for not doing a magic that Brahm has never explained that
Yeah,
Aragon should expect to be
right?
able to do. He's like, oh, why didn't you use your magic to find out what that man was thinking in the town? And Aragon's
Right?
like, what the f***? Like, why would I do that? He's like, oh, what, you thought you could only talk to horses telepathically? And Aragon's like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get back to the mind magic, but like Brahm here and fucking Saphira, I'm just over it because Brahm's like, "What? Why didn't you use this magic I never told you about?" And then like 2 seconds later, Saphira's like, "You're flying on me!"
Yeah,
Like she's like,
right?
they both act as though Aragon has like been told this information before
Yeah.
and has been repeatedly refusing them for a very long time, and now they're
Yeah.
angry. And it's just
Yeah.
like, no, you haven't told him this is an option, and yet
Yeah.
you're being like, how dare you?
And they both do it again in the next chapter. Like,
Yeah.
Saphira does like the mind meld with Aragon, and he's like, wow, this is amazing. And she's like, yeah, we could have been doing this the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then Brahm tries to contact Aragon through the mind magic, which we will circle back to, and Aragon blocks him the way that Brahm taught him to do, and then Brahm is mad that he got blocked. And
Yeah.
he's like, Brahm,
Yeah.
you're moving the goalposts way too much here, buddy. Like, Jesus.
Well, even the Saphira right before that is just like you said, she like mind melds and then it's like, yeah, we could have been doing this the whole time. It's like, thanks for telling me. But also,
Yeah.
like, even before that, the minute they take off, like, if they're brain connected, she probably, like, Aragon has clearly misgivings about flying, and they, like, barely get into the sky, and then she's immediately doing, like, fucking flips. And he's
Yep.
like, oh my god, I'm scared. And she's like, well, get used to it. It's like, oh my god, give him, like, 2 seconds.
Saphira was
Calm
not
down.
nice in this. Like,
No.
she's not chill.
No.
No, she's being very pushy.
Neither she nor Brahm are, like, at all nice to Aragon.
No,
Aragon's gonna end up so f***ed up because of these two.
just no self-esteem left, because anytime he does something, he's going to expect to be yelled at for doing it wrong, even though he didn't know he was supposed to be doing it a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, the psychological impacts of everything going
Oh,
on
God.
up until this point, like, I'm curious to see how Aragon ends up.
Yeah, like this poor kid.
Oh my
I don't
God.
think Paolini will, like, actually develop his character to the point of, like, what this would actually do to a person, but you never know.
I guess we'll find out if we continue with the series.
Well, I guess Hannah knows. I don't know.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I feel like generally a lot of writing where you have like a mind connection with another sentient creature
I love it.
usually is like treats it as though that's like your therapy. Like, oh, well,
Yeah.
but you end
Yeah.
up fine because this person you care about is in your head 24/7.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that sounds terrible.
that's not great.
It sounds terrible for the other person.
Uh-huh. If you think about it, it's a little bit Edward.
Yep. I was gonna say that. Now let's circle back to mind magic. I
Yes,
can't believe
okay.
we're gonna have to talk about reading thoughts again.
But it's different this time? Kind of.
Is it?
Well, I was gonna say, I think it's different because Edward, well, he could tune it out, but he couldn't turn it off. So, like, he always kind of just had, like, the sound of just a crowded place in his head, whereas it sounds like Aragon has to, like, actually work at trying to
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
somebody's mind, it seems.
Yeah, it seems like more of a choice.
Yeah, like, the connection with him and Saphira seems to be, like, pretty snappy, but, like, I feel like he doesn't go into that town and automatically hear what all 60 of those people are thinking, or 60 of the
True.
archers. But he
The
has
60
to like,
yoga masters, because they're all
Yes.
meditating. He can't
They're all
hear
too
their
busy
thoughts.
arching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought at first, I was like, oh yeah, this is like some cool, magic, like whatever. And then Brom immediately says like, oh, it's not magic. Anybody can learn this skill. I was
Yeah.
like, excuse
yeah.
me?
Just
How?
casually, Brom just casually drops a lot of information that Aragon is just kind of like, cool, anyway, here's questions about something else.
Yeah,
It's like, wait.
hold on.
But this still doesn't make sense though. With then why is Brom saying that anyone can learn how to do mind magic? I don't understand.
Because it's not magic if anyone can learn how to do it. It's
Well,
just something else.
Then
Yeah.
how do we explain the science of brain reading? Is it like
There isn't any.
electricity?
Yeah, I mean, I've come across this concept in like a couple fantasy universes where like quote unquote mind magic is like different than magic. Like there's, fire and lightning and that kind of
Mhm.
magic, and then there's like, empathy or like talking to animals, where it's like people use like different types of quote unquote magic.
Yeah.
Or like in the Tamora Pierce series, there's like you have the everyday things magic, which isn't real magic, but you can work through like a craft ability.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming that's kind of what he's trying to imply here,
Mhm.
Maybe.
because it like has to be magic though, right?
Yeah, I did just go check the source text because in my notes I wrote down my interpretation rather than just the bare facts because I'm terrible as a scientist.
Sure.
But he says, as I said before, with the right instruction, anyone can talk with their minds, but with differing amounts of success. Whether it's magic, though, is hard to tell. And then he goes on to say that magic abilities or pairing with a dragon can trigger the talent, but you can also
Oh.
just learn it without other magic.
Yeah. And it's like the last chapter he spent so much time establishing that like all magic kind of has to do with the ancient language.
Yeah.
That now it's like, well, now, but this doesn't, so it can't be
Yeah.
magic.
Well, and he also, this is slightly more relevant to our previous topic, but he also, in the earlier chapters, made a point of telling Aragon basically not to do magic without running it by him first, because it can be super dangerous.
Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, so did you use magic to read that guy's mind? And it's like, I feel like if no one told me if that was dangerous or not, it seems like a big enough thing that I would assume it was dangerous and probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Brom is the worst.
He's not a very good mentor, actually.
I don't like him. He's a dick.
I mean, I can't decide if I like Aragon either, so honestly...
I mean, I don't like Aragon either. I don't really like Saphira either.
They all deserve each other, quite honestly.
They do.
It's all quite problematic.
Yeah, they're all kind of terrible in different ways.
There's also a part here that we're definitely canceling Brom for.
Okay.
And it's the part where he says that he's never found birds to be very interesting to talk to mentally.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
And that you should start with a cat instead. Which, like, love cats. But I just want to go for a minute and talk about all the things bird brains can do.
Okay, before you do that, can I just point out that in our last episode, you praised Mercedes Lackey for including birds that literally only say hey over and over again?
The chickens.
Uh-huh.
That's not a very interesting
in their
thing
brain,
to say.
though.
But if you're just like, that's what they're thinking about.
We don't know that.
Uh-huh.
She also has human level sentient birds in a whole other series, so she gets a pass. Does Paolini do that?
I don't fucking know.
No, it's fine. I just thought you'd be excited that I wanted to talk about corvids.
Okay, give me your bird brain ideas.
No, it's okay. I just want to say that ravens can pass the mirror test, which means they understand that they are an individual creature that is different from other individuals, which most animals don't.
Yep.
Pretty much just human, chimpanzees, dolphin, corvid, and also weirdly manta rays. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why manta rays can pass the mirror test, but they can.
I didn't
Who
know
tested
that.
And how did they find out?
I forget how they did it, but it was like They like put a mirror in a tank.
Okay.
Because like the classic, the classic test is like you put a mirror and then you put like a bit of paint on like the animal's face, and if it understands that the reflected image is itself, it will try and like clean the paint off because it sees it in the mirror. But if it thinks it's just another animal, it will try and attack it or like act as though it's a stranger kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they did something like that for manta rays, and they passed it like significantly.
Wow.
That's wild.
Weird.
Yeah.
Love manta rays. Wouldn't
Wow.
have said they were smart enough to pass the mirror test.
No.
Also, pigeons take the subway.
Yes.
Isn't that fun?
Wait. Like,
I've heard
actually?
that one.
Like, they'll get on at a stop to go to a specific stop and they know where to get off?
No, usually they get on like they know how to get on a subway. They'll like wait at a subway station to get on a train because it's full of food, and I mean they are feral domesticated animals, so they also just like being where people are.
True, fair, okay.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
There's some geese downtown where I live that use a crosswalk.
Aw, I love that.
I think a couple years ago, one of them got run over in the crosswalk, and people were pissed.
Yeah, that's what the crosswalk is for.
That's what the crosswalk is for. If someone's crossing in the crosswalk, you have to stop.
You have to stop.
Doesn't matter what kind of
person it is. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of smart bird things.
I love corvids.
Listen to a bird brain if you can. Also, a cat. Do both.
Yeah.
He also, because he does say, like, literally right before that, you could spend the entire day listening to a bird's thoughts or understanding how an earthworm feels during a rainstorm. Which, like, I would immediately leave human civilization and be like, this is my life now. I'm gonna go learn how an earthworm feels during a rainstorm. I bet it's dope.
I feel like you're already pretty tuned into that as my token friend who moves all of the worms off the sidewalk when it's raining.
What if people are gonna step on them?
Aww.
You could find out why they do that and convince them not to.
I could be like, guys, you're going the long way. Turn around, go back the other way. Like, not out here.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's hard because you always have to make sure that people aren't watching you, because otherwise they start. I have to pause and pretend to get phone calls a lot.
Oh, really?
If I'm by myself.
Aww.
Oh man, I had over the summer, I was going for a walk with a pair of like in-ear earbuds in, and I was listening to an audiobook, so I wasn't paying attention to people around me. But I also saw, I believe it was several ants dismembering a grasshopper on the sidewalk. So I like stopped and crouched down to watch it and didn't notice this like very kind couple walking up to me and like asking me if I was okay because I was like bent over on the ground.
God.
And I didn't respond because I didn't hear them, and I was like really engrossed in both my book and these bugs, and they like came like up close to me and I got very startled and they got very startled. Oh my god, we just wanted to make sure you're okay. And I was like, no, they're ants.
I'm just watching these ants.
I'm just looking at these ants and this grasshopper. So
yeah,
it's sort of like picking up worms.
Sure. Listen, somebody's got to help them, and it can be me.
If not you, then
who?
No one.
Nature.
Birds. The birds will pick them up.
Definitely. Yeah, they'll love that.
I mean, they won't put them back down, but they'll move them off the sidewalk. So
yeah,
that's good.
It's fine. One last thing to say about the mind brain magic.
Yeah.
Like, Brahm specifically is like, oh yeah, pretty much anyone can do it. But Aragon has never even heard of this ability before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, I feel like, again, it's the same thing with like, oh, no one knows the riders can do magic. It's like, well,
it's like, how did you keep that secret?
Well, yeah.
How did you not keep it secret that anybody can learn how to mind read?
Yeah, like Aragon is so blasé about magic. Like he's just like, oh yeah, this stone I found is magic. Oh, whatever, magic, I can do it. But also, like, apparently nobody can do magic except everybody can, but nobody in Carvajal or that Aragon would have ever met.
No, it's very confusing.
It sounds
anyway.
like they're just stupid rules that Brahm has decided.
Yeah.
Brahm, in this case, being a stand-in for a 15-year-old with
Yep.
a computer keyboard. Should we also talk about how Aragon, very sensibly, I would say, upon hearing that anybody can learn how to, like, touch someone else's mind, is like, well, I don't want people in my mind, like, how do I block them?
Yeah.
So Brahm tells him how to block them, which apparently is very difficult, which I'm sure means that Aragon is going to be fantastic at it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you imagine an impenetrable barrier, and then your mind becomes impenetrable.
Mm-hmm.
Which at least is like a nice, simple idea. But I do like the fact that in the next chapter, Brahm tries to like get in contact with Aragon while he's flying on Saphira by touching his mind, and Aragon feels him doing it and immediately like blocks him out
Yeah.
and does such a good job that Brahm is pissed later. It's like,
Yeah.
don't ever block me out again. And I was like, you know what this is? This is exactly like the time at our former workplace. We all had to do video training on how to detect phishing and scam emails. And then like 2 days later, we got like a company-wide email from the owner of the company that was like, oh, everybody go to this link and like do this thing. And nobody did it because we were all like, haha, this is spam training. And then a couple days after that, we got another email being like, no, guys, a bunch of you have reported this as phishing. It's not. You actually do have to do that. It's like, well, you told us not to like click on links in suspicious emails. Like, this guy never
Yeah.
emails us. I don't know what you expected to happen. It's the exact same thing. It's like, we did exactly what you told us to. You can't get
Yeah.
mad at us.
Yeah, come on. I just blocked you out. Like you said, literally 12 hours ago.
It's like, you literally told me to do this.
Yeah, I love the idea that like not necessarily that it makes your mind impenetrable, but that like they can only read what is currently on your mind. And so
Mhm.
like all you have to do is just think about something super boring for as long as you possibly can. And it's like, "Oh my god, stop thinking about this stupid brick wall."
I feel like I just sing the Baby Shark song
Yeah,
like on loop in my head. It's always there anyway.
right? Like something easy.
Yeah.
At the end of this chapter, we mentioned that there's a sudden ending to this chapter with the definitely not sexual sentence about Zarok getting pounded
Vigorously.
vigorously, sorry. But
A
I
vigorous
just
pounding
laugh.
with a sword.
Yeah, because the sentence is like, he marveled that Zarok had not been scratched or dented by the vigorous pounding it had received. Like, during a sword fight, he's, like, shocked that this sword did not get damaged doing sword stuff. Like,
Uh-huh.
what are you expecting, Aragon?
Well, they even explicitly did special magic on the swords to keep them from touching each other. Brahm taught Aragon how to do, like, a sort of barrier magic so that, like, they wouldn't actually be able to cut anything with the swords if they hit.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're surprised that you used swords with magic protection and the sword was okay?
Yeah. Did you think this sword was made out of, like, Jell-O? Like, what?
Maybe most swords in Carvajal are, like, kind of shitty. So if
Oh,
you
yeah,
use them,
maybe.
they get all dented up, and this is meant to point out that, like, wow, Aragorn?
Aragorn. Wait, hold on.
Different franchise. Aragon's sword is, like, wow, so special.
So good.
So high quality. It has
yeah,
a name, so that's how you know it's good.
That's how you know. The swords in Carvajal are made out of wood.
That's the swords that Aragon and Brahm were using until this chapter, where one of them breaks, so Brahm chucks them both in the fire and is like, alright, we're done with sticks, we're gonna use real swords now.
Yeah. I bet in like 2 chapters, because the spell, this is the only magic where he specifically says the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you in like 2 chapters, Aragon's gonna use it in a fight.
Oh, yeah.
That's my bet. Because he did Berzinger because it was named and then he used it.
Yeah.
And so I think this one was named. He's going to use it.
Yeah.
It seems like a difficult one to use in a fight, though, because it explicitly makes your weapon less dangerous.
Sure. But I bet the first part is like barrier. Because it's like Guloth. Oh, sorry, I ruined it. Because Sam could have said it. Guloth Dunifer?
Uh-huh.
You sound like you did a great job.
I
10
got
out
it
of
in
10
line.
by me.
Thanks.
Nailed it.
I bet the first part just means block.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, we'll see if I'm right. I'll forget.
So that's what happened in Daret. Let's get to the second chapter, shall we?
We've talked about a bunch of the second chapter already.
We have, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the most exciting part about the second chapter is Aragon flying with Saphira.
Hell yeah.
Big fan of it. Saphira does a barrel roll. Aragon is like, holy shit. And then Saphira's like, nah, man, don't worry. Come do this. And then they do their mind meld. And Aragon, like, kind of talks about what it feels like to be one with Saphira as they fly. And I don't know about you, but the thing that got my attention the most from this was Aragon talked about, like, how Saphira's vision is different than his.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a note about this too.
He says that Saphira's vision has a blue tint and minimizes green and red. Which, at first, I was like, well, that's... Green
Weird.
and red is, like, a weird combination of things. And then I looked a little bit into eye biology, and it turns out it's actually very reasonable.
Oh, see, because I thought it was weird that... Because dragons aren't all blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, it was weird to me because, like, literally, isn't the next book about a green dragon? Or
Red.
red one?
But isn't
Yeah.
the last one a green dragon? Like, there's a red and green dragon, right?
Yeah, and there's also a gold one in there. That made me wonder if Saphira has blue vision because she's blue, or if she has blue vision because dragons have blue vision.
Which, like...
Right?
Yeah, because then it brings up, like, why?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. What's the advantage of having, like, I guess this is essentially red-green color blindness? Is that what there is? Is that what he's saying?
Well, so I did a tiny bit of research into, like, how vertebrate eyes work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are 3 main types of cones, which are, like, what you use for color vision. And the 3 different types of cones correspond with, like, different peak wavelengths of light. So, like, blue and purple wavelengths of light are shorter wavelengths. Reds are, like, longer wavelengths. It's just light physics. But the 3 different cones peak at blue, green, and red. So
Okay.
if Saphira has a lot of blue vision and not very much green and red vision, it just means that she is more shifted towards, like, the short wavelength light, which might also imply that she might be able to see, like, a little bit into the UV range, which apparently is pretty common in reptiles.
Yeah, that's what I took that as, too. The exotic
Yeah.
tints part, I assumed that meant she could see into UV.
Yeah, which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I just, like, I quite liked the fact that he specifically called out, like, oh, she can't see green and red very well. And I was like, well, that's dumb. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh no, I'm dumb. Like, that actually makes so much sense. So kudos to Christopher Paolini there. You got me.
I wonder if that implies that, like, maybe the different colors of dragons are or were subspecies at one point.
Mm.
And so,
Yeah.
like, because I also looked into this a little bit,
Mhm.
but I looked into, like, why are things blue?
Okay.
And obviously, like, a lot of coloration. The biggest thing for coloration is either crypsis, which means, like, hiding, disguising yourself, or, like, for reproduction, like mating displays. Blue is, like, commonly thought to be, like, a mating display thing,
Oh.
but it could be, like, a bunch of things. But if that's the reason, like, that would kind of make sense why, like, she can see more blue. You know,
Yeah.
like, maybe it's
Yeah.
more that she's looking for other blue dragons, even if maybe because once they became sentient, that, like, subspecies differentiation stopped.
Yeah.
But it could be, like, a holdover from their evolution, like sexual selection.
Yeah, that would make
Yeah.
sense.
Maybe.
I buy that.
I was thinking maybe it had something to do with the fact that they, like, fly and therefore probably get a lot of light in their eyes, but I couldn't quite... I'm not smart enough to figure out how to ask Google that question in order to get an answer to, like, does having blue tinted vision protect your eyes from ultraviolet radiation?
Well,
So,
blue.
I don't know.
Well, because, like, having the blue vision, I feel like it would help. It would be darker. I'm thinking in context of diving, because the deeper you go, you essentially just have blue vision.
Yeah, because light attenuates pretty quickly in water and you lose,
Yeah.
like, the longer wavelengths. They get absorbed in the water.
Oh, is that okay? So red is the longest and blues are the shortest.
Yeah.
When I was reading about the color blue, There was something that like definitely does not have a lot of data behind it, but there are a couple cases where there's like a lot of organisms that live at the surface of the ocean
Okay.
Yeah.
that are blue, like bright blue. And part of it could be to like hide in the water, but also because it's like actually like it's mentioned in this paper I read, but it's mentioned as being kind of dicey that
Okay.
it could protect your DNA from intense like blue wavelengths, so like UV light and stuff.
Okay.
Like if you are physically blue or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, or like it could also be that the structure that serves a certain function also happens to be blue. Like there's a thought that there are some animals that are blue because they have a structure, like the pigment structure has like antimicrobial properties, and that's why they're blue.
Okay.
Because it helps them, but it also turns them blue as a side effect.
So this is
Anyway.
less about vision and more about the color of Saphira.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Because you were like, oh, does it protect her from UV?
Yeah.
That's
Sorry,
not-
I was specifically thinking about vision, but that also
Oh, right. Okay.
So yes.
who knows? I think is
Okay.
Who knows?
Okay.
I think the TLDR of this section is Saphira's vision has a blue tint, and none of us know enough about
Yeah.
eyes and optical physics to come up with like a good answer.
Yeah.
No.
I did find like one fun thing that I did want to. Well, I have two
Okay.
fun things. The first fun thing, there is like a lizard that is fully blue, an animal that lives like high in the canopy,
Okay.
and again, it's like they don't know, like you can't really prove why something's blue. You know, like you can't
Yeah.
really ever decisively prove. But one of the hypotheses is that because they live high up, looking at them from below, the blue makes them harder to see with
So
the
it's like
light.
counter
Yeah.
shading.
Yeah, it's like counter shading
Okay.
against the sky, but also like because the light hitting the leaves like kind of turns them like a bright color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the sky. Yeah. Anyway.
At some point, we'll certainly have to discuss why dragons can come in any color.
Yeah.
Because from the covers of the books, we know there's blue, red, green, and yellow. And then there was also a brown one mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
And Galbatorix's dragon is black. So it seems like
Right.
literally any
color at all.
I guess though, like, people come in a whole bunch of different colors of like skin and hair and eyes.
Yeah, but there's still a genetic,
There's reason.
right? Like,
yeah.
right, you get somewhere like middle ground. So
Yeah.
it would be interesting to see if there's like a teal dragon.
I
Uh-huh.
hope so.
Right?
When there are animals that have like bright colors that aren't always the same. Like, because I'm me, the example I'm thinking about is lobsters, where they're usually
yeah.
brown, but you can get ones that come out like bright blue or bright orange or bright yellow or like white.
Yeah.
Because the pigment that like makes up the coloration of a lobster is like fairly complex and made of a couple of different proteins that like code for different colors. So if you have deficiencies or overexpressions of various like protein genes, you can end up with a lobster that has like a weird color.
True.
But that is like they're weird colors, right? Like it's not typical to go out and see a bright blue lobster. It's
right.
reasonably unusual. So like
Yeah.
if most dragons were brown and then some of them were blue.
Oh my god. What if the dragons are like all cryptic colors and they give away the eggs that are like bright blue or green because they know they won't survive in nature. So
Wow.
they're like, take these for the riders.
Uh-huh.
Maybe.
Maybe. Or maybe they're like pigeons where like I guess this is the same thing. Like most pigeons look the same, but every once in a while you're out and about and you see one that's like
A cow color.
splotchy,
Yeah.
like white and brown, and you're like, what the f***? Like,
What happened here?
like, you're very pretty, like, how did you get like that?
Yeah, so you're saying that the dragons were selectively bred for certain colorations when they were domesticated, and then now the wild types sometimes display them.
I guess I'm more saying because the dragons are sentient and not domesticated.
Mm-hmm.
Something about sexual selection.
Okay,
great.
Wow.
Before we finish fully on this conversation, my last fun fact, which I assume both of you might know.
Okay.
Did you know that marine mammals can't see blue?
I learned
No.
that while I was
Yeah.
researching this.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, they have like monochromatic vision.
I mean,
sort of.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, like why would you
Yeah.
need to?
It's like they wouldn't really need color vision.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like seals and whales, but
Both.
then most other marine creatures still can see blue. So
Well, yeah, isn't it like the mantis shrimp that can see like colors like we can't even imagine?
I think there's been some recent dispute of that, but
Oh
that was
no,
the
really? Oh.
yeah, like they have a whole bunch of different cones.
Yeah.
So researchers assumed that they had like a whole bunch of different colors, but I thought I saw
Oh.
something recently that it was like, oops, we misinterpreted this data.
Ooh, I
But I
have
might
not
be
seen
wrong.
that. But anyways,
but yes, most marine taxa can see like blue and other colors.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, UV light.
So why
My guess for
mammals?
that would be most marine mammals are like very, I guess not even most, but like a lot of marine mammals are very like orally focused, very sound focused. They don't
Yeah.
hunt using vision.
Right.
Whereas like a lot of fish and like birds and reptiles are very vision dominant. So it makes sense to like
True.
keep as many colors as you can. And in the case of birds and reptiles, to add more cones. Apparently, pigeons have 5 cones. They have like a whole extra color. Because
Yeah.
Really?
pigeons are buck wild.
Yeah.
Pigeons
But
should
like,
coming up this episode.
right? Yeah, I need to get that pigeon watching book.
Yeah.
I've heard it's good, but
I've
I haven't
also
read
been
it yet.
thinking about it. That's why
Yeah.
I rang it.
Yeah, I kind of want to read that. But as the resident whale enthusiast on this podcast, a lot of them are very like non-vision based. So I guess if you are only using your vision for like gross determination and not as like specific hunting or signaling,
Yeah.
then you don't necessarily need color. And why would you need to see blue underwater? That would just be so annoying.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything would be blue.
Everything's blue all the time.
All blue.
Anyway, I'm sure more dragon eyeball stuff will come up in the future. Saphira is still going to be blue for the whole book, so we can keep talking about it then.
Yes, at least I assume so.
Yeah. I super quick want to talk about the magic plant oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they find this like flask of corrosive oil, which only the description says you can dip anything into the oil and pull it out unharmed unless it was once part of an animal or human, which is wild.
That's so crazy.
So wild. Like, what?
Wait.
And also, what does that mean?
Yeah.
If someone had like a metal, like if there's a nail that was in them at one point, would that dissolve? What?
I'm so
So-
glad we had the same thought but went different ways, because my thought was, what if an ant had a parasitic fungus?
Yeah, it's an oil that's like specifically corrosive to flesh. It's used
Yes.
as like an assassination thing, but apparently it's like super rare and super magic.
Yes.
And the Razak used it to kill Garrow.
It sounds like they just kind of use it for everything, but
Yeah, they specifically call out that it's like something that's used for assassinating people because of the flesh component. So you can like
Yeah.
put it on an arrow or in bed sheets and nothing happens.
yeah, I liked that part because they're like, they use it for assassination as though it's like super secret, because one
Yeah.
of the examples is like dripped onto sheets so that the person will be burned, but then like one of them is like slathered on the point of a spear. Like, I think maybe the spear will kill them.
Yeah, the spear's probably fine.
I don't think you need the poison.
Hmm.
The poison.
But yeah, what is the delineation between something that was once part of an animal? Like skin cells and sheets? Sheets are full of skin cells.
Oh,
Does it burn those up?
Or it's like, what
Yeah.
if you had like a gold tooth?
Hmm.
Is that gold now considered a part of you?
I would say no.
Hmm.
Because
Or what
like
if you have a
that's
peg
the thing that's
leg?
mechanically attached. Well, that's like something that's physically attached to you. It's not something that is biologically a part of your body.
But they didn't specify biologically.
yeah, like it's weird that they say like unless it was once part of an animal or human.
Yeah.
Like why not just be like unless it's something that's alive, right? Like, because
Yeah.
clearly they want to be able to say like, and it's used to like ruin animal, like 'cause it says like sinew, so like
Yeah.
things that are made out of animal parts.
So,
Yeah.
like leather, it would probably eat.
Yeah, but it's just very weird. Like,
Yeah.
the wording is strange because like now in the
And Mercedes Lackey.
no in the
Oh, okay.
Kingdom Animalia,
Yeah.
Right? Like, so
Yeah.
in like phylogenetically,
Uh-huh.
right? Like things are grouped into Animalia, the group, which like is everything you'd think of as an animal. But then there's
And
stuff
a lot
that's
of
like,
people don't think of as animals.
yeah, and a lot of things you don't think of as animals, but like sponges are in that, stuff like, animals. But
Yeah.
there's stuff like right outside Animalia that's like, not quite animals yet, but it still like is alive and like eats, but it's not a plant or fungus,
Hmm.
And so this is only interesting to maybe the three of us or maybe just me. But like, what would one of those things do in it? That's
Oh,
my
see,
question.
Yeah.
I took it the other way and did the thing where I assume when a lot of like lay people are talking about animals, they mostly just mean vertebrates.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Especially because he said animals or humans. And it's like
Yeah,
humans are animals.
humans are. Yeah.
Humans are animals.
So like I was kind of trying to decide if he means like all animals, if he means vertebrates, if he just means like mammals and
Yeah.
dragons.
Uh-huh.
So
So
I landed
confusing.
on vertebrates, but
Okay.
like who even
I'm
knows?
betting animal, but I don't know
Okay.
that this will be tested within the book.
I super doubt it.
Yeah, no one's gonna be like, okay, on one hand we have this insect, on the other hand we have a choanoflagellate, and we're gonna decide which one this works on and not.
Uh-huh. I also really
Um,
like that this like super rare, super expensive assassination tool. Aragon's like, but the paperwork. And Brahma's like, aha, brilliant, it will be on the paperwork. And it's like,
Yeah.
or they're like extrajudicial like assassins hired by the king to like hunt down dragon riders, and they just fucking went to the Northern Isles and got some.
yeah. Also, like, because he says, like, it will tell us where they live. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
the Razak are like ordering on Amazon from home. Like, no.
Yep.
It's gonna be like, who ordered this? It's like the fucking king, the
The
castle.
king, yeah. With Uruban or whatever.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, somebody imported this, and then somebody bought it, and because we're like a medieval European fantasy setting, it's not like we have electronic records that are updated when it gets to like wherever it's going after somebody bought it and then peddled it away.
Yeah, the guy wrote it in his one book in his town, and that's where the shipping record is.
Yeah,
It might not be this town.
yeah. At least like it's a
good idea.
yeah, it's an interesting thought. I mean, what else are they gonna do, right? Like,
Yeah, great point.
there's a whole part in the book where Bram sits and thinks for a while and then goes, "Nope, I don't have any ideas. What do you want to do?" And Aragon's like,
No,
"I don't know, Saphira, what do you want to do?" And she's like, "I don't know, you decide."
it's very like, no, you're the main character. You figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, this is your revenge quest, Aragon. Like, you figure out what we're gonna do next. It's like, okay, thanks, Bram. Maybe like, can you teach me some tracking magic or something?
Yeah, next chapter, Brahm's gonna be like, I can't believe you didn't fucking use magic to track them.
Yeah.
It's like stupid.
Yeah, you idiot. What a
So
jerk.
good. A nice, healthy relationship that
Yep.
will make a lot of sense if Brahm dies and Aragon mourns him. Does that happen?
I'm sure that possibly won't happen. No,
that couldn't happen.
definitely
Surely not.
Surely not.
Okay, are we done talking about these chapters?
Yeah.
All right, so let's guess what's gonna happen next. I think we've been really good at guessing so far.
I
Because
mean,
of the
it's
very
been so
descriptive-
hard.
Yeah, these titles so hard.
We did give Paolini some shit for his stupid flowery chapter titles.
True.
And now he has gone and started naming his chapters things like Daret, and which
Yeah.
they are in Daret. So like
It's
that's
like,
nice.
hell yeah. Okay, so the next two chapters are called A Song for the Road and A Taste of Term?
I think it's Tierm.
Tier, but the E is first.
Yeah. Hold on.
Term.
I have the
Yeah, check
pronunciation
your
guide
I'm
pronunciation.
open.
glad
guide.
you're both trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
I literally checked it before we started recording in case this came up and I have forgotten. So like
Amazing.
give me a second. Tierm.
Tierm.
It's Tierm.
Okay. So A Song for the Road and A Taste of Tierm. What could these be about, you guys?
I think they either come up with a song or they encounter a bard. I really hope they encounter a bard.
I think in the
that'd be
second
fun.
one they're gonna get to Tyrm.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wait, what?
Wild.
A tier? What was the second one I called?
A Taste of Tyrm. Tyrm is the name of the town they mention in this chapter. P.S.
Do
Oh,
you think
The coastal town.
do you
We're gonna eat
think
some
the
seafood.
taste of Tyrm is a tiramisu?
Anyway, podcast is canceled. We're done.
well,
Okay, we're done guessing. We probably got
yay.
it. A bard and they get to Tyrm.
I hope the bard joins
Uh-huh.
the party. This
That'd be
That'd be
fun.
fun.
This needs some comedic relief. There's just a lot of
Yeah.
angst, a lot of
Yeah.
Everyone's very
problems.
dour. Okay, let's talk about what else we're reading. And I'll go first, which I always forget.
You always pause.
I always pause, like, who wants to go first? It's like,
It's like
Sophie.
you, Sophie.
You.
The order of things is you. Yeah, I listened to an audiobook this week that I really liked. So it's called The Library of the Unwritten. Really good book. I very much up my alley. I finished it and was like, oh, that like ending didn't really impact me. But then I've also been thinking about it for 3 days. So I guess it actually was really good.
Dang.
And I'm mad that the second book, The Library, doesn't have the audiobook. I'm really salty about it.
Boo.
That's so rude.
Yeah, it's about a librarian in the libraries of hell, where all the unwritten books reside, and it's great. Love a romp through all the realms of the dead.
Wow.
And then I've also been rereading a middle grade series that I really like, although I guess it's been moved to YA, the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. I think I shouted them out on a previous episode, but I'm reading them right now. The first one is called Dealing with Dragons, and they're very fun. Dragons.
Dragons.
I've read almost 4 of them in 2 days. So if you want a quick read,
Oh
Hannah,
my
about
God.
dragons,
Hell yeah.
I guess
That's
I can't
it.
say much. I've read a single book today already.
Yeah.
I can't say anything. The book that I read today was Beach Read by Emily Henry, and oh my god, it was the best book ever. No, not the best book ever, but it was pretty dang good. It was really good. It made me feel a lot of things.
It's a rom-com book?
I wouldn't even call it a comedy because honestly, like, it wasn't that funny. It was just like a lot of feelings. Like a lot of pain in both characters. I've
Dang.
discovered that my oddly specific trope is like 2 very emotionally drained people who are broken and both feel broken and unlovable finding each other and getting better
Mhm.
together. And that's what this
Wow.
was.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, I'm fine.
You seem fine.
I'm fine. Besides that, I'm also listening to the Dragon Republic, which is the second book
Ooh.
in the Poppy War
Oh, dang.
trilogy by R.F. Kuang. Also full of pain and suffering, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on a lighter note, since our last recording, I read the entirety of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer because I missed out on this when it was peak 2012 YA fantasy sci-fi. It's
Mhm.
fantastic. It's great. Slow start, epic finish. Big fan.
Dang.
Yeah. So it's been a good 2 weeks of reading.
And what about the other 15 books you read?
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
We'll be here forever.
All right. Okay, one of the books I read in the interim that I really liked is a rom-com about 2 people who think they're unlovable that Sam recommended to me.
Which one?
Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. Admittedly, my bar is low because I don't read a lot of romance, but it was definitely my favorite romance book that
It's so
I've
cute.
read.
It's
It's
so
really
good.
cute, and I keep
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yay.
And the sequel is coming out this summer, and I'm going to get it immediately.
Yay.
Other than that, I'm currently reading another Star Wars High Republic book, A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland, which is a kid's book, but it seems to be in the continuity because the fucking High Republic is just like every format of book possible is where the plot goes. So there's like books of all grade levels. I think there's an audio drama. There's like a bunch of comics, and I cannot for the life of me follow it. But now I want to know how the story ends, so I have to figure out what happened in the middle, and I'm kind of mad about it.
Dude,
Anyway.
I was gonna say, there seems to be so many of them. I don't know,
There's-
where to even start with them.
I don't either, honestly. Well,
Yeah.
you start with Light of the Jedi, which is bad, unfortunately.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of them. But other than that, I'm listening to finally Where the Crawdads Sing, because I haven't actually read that yet.
Oh,
It's good.
it's really good.
Yeah, I'm like 3 hours into the audiobook, so not a lot of plot has happened yet, but a lot of character development and
Yep.
character establishment, I suppose is the word I should use, is happening. And by the time this episode goes up, I will be reading Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is our Midlight Book Club book of the month. So
Hell yeah.
let us know if you're reading that along with us. We would love to hear it. If you liked this chapter of Midlight Crisis, consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. You can talk to us and find fun-related content on social media. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, which is midlightpod.podbean.com, and on YouTube.
And some good but patently untrue advice from Brom. Nothing will go wrong if you don't panic.
Well, I think things still could go wrong.
Yeah,